At 30 years old, Luis was making $44,000 a year doing construction in Arizona. Concrete work, long hours, hot sun, unpredictable pay depending on contracts. Some weeks were good, some weeks were dry, but every year felt the same. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't irresponsible. He just didn't have leverage. And one afternoon, during a break, he overheard something that changed his trajectory. Two electricians on site were talking about a contract. One said, "Yeah, this one alone pays $18,000. Luis froze. $18,000 for one job, not a year, one job. He did the math in his head. He would have to work nearly 5 months to net that. That was the moment. He wasn't in the wrong industry. He was in the wrong tier. Construction isn't low income. Unlicensed labor is. That realization stung, because Luis had been telling himself a story. This is just how construction pays. No, this is how general labor pays. Specialized trades pay differently. That night, instead of collapsing on the couch, he searched, "How long does it take to become a licensed electrician?" Answer, about 9 to 12 months for basic certification programs, apprenticeship pathway, state licensing exams. It wouldn't be easy. He was already exhausted after work, but here's what changed his mindset. He wasn't choosing between comfort and comfort. He was choosing between temporary exhaustion and permanent ceiling. So Luis enrolled in an evening electrical technician certification program, 3 nights a week, 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. After a full day on site. The first month was brutal. His body hurt. His focus slipped. Some classmates quit, because discipline without immediate reward is uncomfortable. But Luis kept one number in mind: $18,000 per contract. Not fantasy, real. During training, he started noticing something else. Electricians didn't just install wiring. They read blueprints. They understood code compliance. They handled inspection approvals, knowledge, regulation, authority. The job wasn't just physical, it was technical. Technical skill builds scarcity. Scarcity builds income. 6 months into training, he started an apprenticeship under a licensed electrician. Hourly rate slightly higher than labor, but more importantly, experience toward licensing. He was no longer just lifting materials, he was learning systems, learning panel layouts, load calculations, safety codes. He began understanding how mistakes could cost thousands. That's when it clicked. Higher pay isn't about effort, it's about responsibility. The more financial responsibility you carry, the more you get paid. By month 9, he passed his certification exam, applied for a licensed junior electrician role. Old income, $44,000. New offer, $61,000 base, $17,000 increase, almost 39% jump. Same industry, different skill tier. But the real shift was psychological. Luis no longer saw himself as construction labor. He saw himself as licensed trade professional. Identity changed behavior. Behavior changed income. And this wasn't the ceiling yet, because once licensed, contract leverage changes everything. Passing the certification didn't make Luis rich overnight, but it changed one critical thing. He was no longer paid only for labor. He was paid for licensed responsibility. Within his first year as a junior electrician, his base salary stabilized around $61,000. Overtime during busy months pushed it closer to $68,000. Already, that was nearly a $25,000 jump from his original $44K construction labor income. But here's where leverage really began. Licensed trades opened 2 paths: higher hourly wage, independent contract potential. And most people only use the first one. Luis didn't. He noticed something during weekend projects. Homeowners needed small electrical fixes, panel upgrades, lighting rewiring, outlet replacements, ceiling fan installations, small jobs. but each one paid $400, $1,500, not per week, per project. After gaining enough supervised hours and confidence, Luis started taking small weekend jobs legally under licensing rules. 2 projects per month, average $900 per project. That's $1,800 extra monthly, $21,600 annually. Now his total yearly income looked like this: $68,000 base with overtime, $21,600 side contract work, roughly $89,000 total, from $44K to nearly $90K in about 24-30 months. And here's the powerful truth: he didn't work double the hours. He worked smarter hours. Instead of overtime under someone else's contract, he worked under his own. That changes margins. By year 3, he built enough repeat customers to reduce overtime reliance. He negotiated a higher rate at his primary job. Base increased to $74,000. Side contracts stabilized around $30,000 annually. Total income crossed $100,000 for the first time. Blue collar, licensed trade, 6 figures. Not viral, not lucky, certified, responsible, strategic. And here's the deeper psychological lesson. When you're unlicensed, you're paid for effort. When you're licensed, you're paid for risk. Risk carries higher compensation because mistakes cost money. Responsibility pays more than repetition. Luis once thought construction capped income. Now he understood something different. Labor has a ceiling, licensed trade does not. And the difference isn't talent, it's certification. Now, instead of living paycheck to paycheck, he was investing $3,000 to $4,000 per month between retirement accounts and savings for his own small contracting business expansion. Over 20 years at 8% growth, that's multi-million-dollar trajectory. All because he chose 9 months of discipline, 9 months for decades of leverage. If your income depends only on your body, it will decline with time. If your income depends on certified skill, it scales with responsibility. Blue collar doesn't mean low income. Unskilled means low income. If you're working hard but your pay hasn't moved in years, you don't need motivation. You need a tier upgrade. Subscribe to Rich Mind Talk, because we don't shame labor. We build leverage inside it.